Welcome. Let's talk about one of the most common small talk topics and a great conversational point, the weather. Today we're going to look at how we can ask questions, answer questions, and kind of construction and vocabulary that relates to weather. Before we get started, hi, I'm Ajeeth from Capshine. Capshine is a revolutionary Learn It Together English fluency program. With Capshine, learning English is easy, quick, fun, affordable, and effective. And we promise a whole new you in 6 months or less. What are we going to do today? We're going to look at phrases, we're going to look at conversation pieces and vocabulary related to the weather. So you can start having conversations, posing questions, answering questions that relate to the weather. Let's start by understanding some common phrases. It's adjective, it's a adjective day, it's plus a gerund, and I'll explain what each of these means. So if you want to talk about how the weather is today, you could use a descriptive word to talk about it. For example, it's sunny, or it's cold, isn't it? Or it's a beautiful day today, isn't it? So again, you're using adjectives here to talk about the weather. You could also use a gerund, something that ends with an ing, to talk about the current weather today. For example, it's raining, it's snowing. All these are different ways to talk about the weather at the moment, and phrases you could use to add on to your conversation about the weather. Let's look at some conversation pieces. One question you could ask, maybe if you're talking on the phone or on social media to someone, is what's the weather like? This could also work if you're talking to someone on Zoom or one of those other conversation apps. Right? It doesn't really work if you're talking to someone from the same place, because you probably would know. It's sunny and humid. Notice the adjectives, it's sunny and humid. Or it's raining. The same construction as what we saw previously. It's plus the adjective, it's plus the gerund itself. What's the weather like in winter? So let's say you're from South India and you're talking to someone from North India. You could ask, what's it like in winter? And they could tell you it's rainy during the winter, or it snows a lot here. It's not as hot as it used to be, or it's not as cold as it used to be, depending on where they're from. You could also ask people about weather in the past. What was the weather like yesterday? It was cold and dry all day. It was cloudy. What's the weather like in summer? It's dry, it's humid, it's really hot. Again, we will talk about these descriptive adjectives as we go forward. You could also ask someone, was it this hot last summer? And they could respond, no, it wasn't, or yes, it was. Or they could tell you it's always hot here, especially if you're traveling to a new place. Similarly, you could ask, what was the weather like last week? In this case, we are going to use past tense. So it plus past tense plus what the weather was. It was horribly cold all week, or it was beautiful all of last week. Last week, it, past tense of the verb, and what the weather was. Last week it was nice. Last week it rained almost every single day. So again, if someone asks you what was the weather like last week, or if you ask someone what was the weather like last week, the response should be either it was good, it was horrible, it was cold, it was sunny, and include all week or last week. Or you could rephrase it as last week it was nice, last week it was cold, last week it was beautiful. Let's talk about some vocabulary that can be useful when having conversations. First, the seasons. You have summer, and then you have fall or autumn. This is where the leaves sort of prepare to be shed before winter. Then you have winter, and of course spring, when things grow back. Usually in America and many parts of Europe, you have all these seasons. In South India, you usually are limited to probably summer and some aspects of maybe monsoon, right? You don't necessarily have the whole range of climates as the other countries. You could also have a dry season, a wet season, or the monsoon, and we definitely have these. So the dry, wet, and monsoon are other ways to describe the season that your area is experiencing. You could also talk about the weather right now. So you could say today is clear. What that means is that there is not much haze, there's not much clouds, and the visibility is really high, and it's very unlikely to be rainy. You could also say it's cloudy, so there's a lot of clouds in the sky. Foggy essentially there's a lot of fog in the air. There's that white kind of precipitation in the air. That's fog. You can have rainy, snowy, stormy, sunny, and of course windy. You could also have severe weather in some situations. You could have storms, you could have strong winds. Hail is when you have ice falling from the sky. Cyclone, and we've seen quite a lot of cyclones in the recent past. These are activities where low pressure and high pressure interact, and you essentially also get strong winds and heavy rain as a result. You have lightning, thunderstorms, where you have numerous thunder and lightning storms occurring. That's a thunderstorm. And of course, torrential rain. So unrelenting strong rain is torrential rains. The weather has been very stormy recently. We enjoyed the picnic under a thunderstorm intervened or interfered. You could also talk about temperature. How is it today? Well, it's quite cold, or it's freezing, it's cool, hot, warm, extremely hot. And another word for extremely hot is scorching, right? Something that's extremely hot is scorching. It has been quite scorching everywhere in India in the previous few months. Moisture and condensation. When you want to talk about how moist the air is, how much water there is in the air, you could use the following words. Dry is when the air has very little humidity. Humid is when there's a lot of water saturating. So you will find yourself sweating quite a bit in such situations. If you especially live in coastal areas near the beach, you will have high humidity. If you live in a landlocked area like Delhi or any of those or Hyderabad, you will find that it's more dry. Dew, have you ever experienced early in the morning? There are droplets of water on surfaces, maybe on leaves. That's essentially dew. The water in the air becomes water droplets. Frost is when you have a layer of ice forming over things. Mist is sort of a milder form of fog. When you're going up a hill station, you usually see that white mist all over you. And of course, fog is also contributed by pollution in many places, so they tend to be thicker as well. You could probably say it's a warm afternoon in August. New Delhi is very hot and humid in summer. The frost will ruin the crop. I hope you found this video useful. Do use the grammatical structures and vocabulary in your everyday conversation when talking about the weather. If you aren't a subscribed member already, check out your free membership, or rather a free trial to your membership by going to capshine.com or downloading the app from the Play Store. Thanks for watching.